Hi everyone, welcome to the first workout in your March Matness challenge. This is our fundamentals workout. It's going to give us all the building blocks we need to start going into the classical Pilates series and starting to feel really strong and mobile and really good in our bodies. You're going to be doing this workout for 4 days, and then we'll switch to a slightly more advanced version of the workout where we still build on our fundamentals, but then also come into the beginner classical Pilates exercises, and then we'll just keep going from there until at the end of this challenge, you're going to be doing the full classical Pilates mat work series, and you're going to feel so good. Let's go ahead and get started standing up. You'll stand with your feet directly underneath your hips. So your hips are over your heels, and then take a moment to feel your ribs centered over your pelvis. Shoulders just relax down easy. Imagine the head is a balloon, maybe a helium balloon, just floating up to the sky while your shoulders are slightly weighted down towards the ground. Good. Let's take the arms up to the sky, reaching fingertips up to the ceiling right above your shoulders. Take a nice big inhale to slide your shoulders up to your ears. And then on your exhale, just release those shoulders down. Good. Inhale, slide the shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, release the shoulders back down. Good, take that again. Inhale, feel your waist and your side body lengthen as those shoulders shrug up to the ears, and then release it back down. Good, grab one wrist, either wrist, and then as you take that inhale, pull the arm up and do a gentle side bend to one side. We're expanding and creating space in the body, and then bring it back. And then do the other one, grab the wrist, reach up, slight side bend. Big inhale, release. Let's do that again. Take the wrist, reach it up and over. Good, expand those ribs and then go the other way. Grab the wrist, reach it up, pull that arm up actively and down. Good, reach it over. Come all the way back up. Good, release the arm and then just drop your arms heavy. Right away, we'll come down onto the mat and you can go ahead and lay down flat right away. So you're coming down. And we'll talk through our neutral pelvis and our neutral spine. So find a comfortable position laying on your mat. Bring your knees into a bent position and find your feet lined up so that your heels are right in line with your sits bones, those bony protrusions there, bony landmarks at the very bottom of your pelvis. Heels are in line with sits bones. Let your arms rest down for a moment and just try to feel relaxed into the mat. Try to imagine all of your muscles are just letting go and we're letting the skeleton kind of find its natural shape. Nothing's clenching, nothing's holding on tight. Good. And then take your hands onto your hip bones and your pubic bones. So heels of the hands onto your hip bones, your ASIS bones we call them, and fingertips on your pubic bone. From there, we want to make sure that the hip bones and the pubic bone are on the same plane, and that gives us our neutral pelvis. So you can glance at it or you can just feel it and make sure your fingertips and the heels of your hands are flat. We're just going to relax that down. Find your neutral. See how that feels. Has that tightened up your hip flexors? Has that put any tension in your low back? Did your ribs come up with it? Just kind of find that. And then see if you can melt any tension away without losing that neutral pelvis. Because ideally this is a neutral place for us where we don't need a lot of excessive tension to hold it. Good. So we find that. Our thigh bones just relax into our hip sockets. There should be a little bit of space behind the low back and the mat. And then the rib cage should be relaxed down into the mat. Now for me, that actually feels like a little bit of a challenge today. And depending on where your body is, what's tight, what's weak, that might be hard for you too. A lot of us tend to be rib thrusters to help make us feel like we have really good upright posture. So just be aware of that. And I don't want you necessarily to force anything down into the mat here. I just want you to bring some awareness there and see if you can think about a heavy rib cage. Ideally, our ribs, where your bra line might be, mid-back is against the mat, but that low back still has a little bit of space. And often if we try to flatten out the rib cage, our low back comes with it. So we're just gonna try to put that in our brain and see if we can just think about those ribs being heavy. Now, our pelvis is still neutral. Check in if you feel like you need to. We're relaxed in the hip flexors And let's put our hands right on our belly. Now we're going to start with our first exercise, which is just diaphragmatic breathing. So we're going to take a nice big inhale, and I want you to imagine your diaphragm, which is a dome-shaped muscle at the bottom of your rib cage, expanding out and down into the belly. So we'll take an inhale, and the rib cage expands, almost like opening up an umbrella, like an upside-down umbrella sitting in your ribs. It expands to the front, to the sides, to the back, and that expansion will also fill your belly. And then exhale and breathe it out. Now, some Pilates teachers out there have maybe told you to always hold your core stable. If you're holding your abdominals right now, you're not going to be able to get a full diaphragmatic breath. So let that go. Let any tension in your abdominals go and take a nice big inhale again. We're expanding the rib cage to the front, to the sides, to the back. The belly expands. And then we exhale and we breathe it all out. Maybe you could imagine a jellyfish swimming between your rib cage and your abdomen. So it opens and domes down on your inhale, and then it exhale and it domes up. Take that again, keep going, and you may notice now that when you take that full exhale and get every last bit of air out, your abdominals actually naturally turn on. And that's wonderful. Keep going like that. Big inhale, fill it all up, let the abdominals release, and then on your exhale, draw it in. And feel those abdominals turn on a little bit, and then see if you can do that without changing the pelvis at all. So make sure you don't rock your pelvis. So take a nice big inhale, and exhale and breathe it all out. And this is starting to engage our pelvic floor and our transverse abdominis just naturally in how they assist with an exhalation. Take that again, big inhale, and exhale every bit of air out. And as we train ourselves to breathe every little bit of air out, it helps us get a fuller inhale following that. Take that again. Inhale. I promise we won't just breathe the whole workout. And then exhale. Feel those abdominals turn on slightly. And now I want you to hold a little bit of that tension, maybe 50 to 70% of it. Take your hands and put them on the sides of your rib cage. So as though you're like putting your hands on your hips, but at your ribs, right? And then we're going to try to maintain that abdominal tone, a little bit of tone in those abdominal muscles. And as you inhale, try to take your breath out into your side ribs. So the rib cage expands sideways as we inhale. We try to keep a little tone in the abdominals so the belly doesn't fully expand this time, and then exhale and breathe out of the abdominals and feel them narrowing in away from your hands a little bit. Inhale again. Keep going like that as I talk. This is the breath that we need when we start to do exercises like our Pilates 100 or maybe your crunches where you need a plank, where you need a more sustained abdominal engagement, but still be breathing, right? So Pilates teaches us how to get nice, full, expansive breaths while working the body, while using the abdominals, while using our muscles. Trains us to be really efficient with our oxygenation, with our breathing. Breathe into those ribs. And every time you exhale, you can deepen the abdominal connection. Take that again. The ribs are expanding to the back and to the sides, laterally into our hands. We call this our lateral breathing or our rib cage breathing, and then breathe it out. One more breath like that. And breathe it out. Okay. Now, pelvis should still be neutral. Maybe check in one more time. And then we're going to go ahead and relax those arms down, and we're going to start to move with our breath. We're going to start to find some mobility in the pelvis and the spine. Arms are relaxed down. We take a nice big inhale. We can expand the belly, let it go all the way down. And then on your exhale, roll your pubic bone towards your belly button and go ahead and flex the pelvis and the lower spine and push that lower back down into the mat. So now we're flattening the curve of the lower spine. This is a posterior pelvic tilt. And then on your inhale, you take the pelvis and you reach it the other way, exaggerating the curve of the low back, taking the pubic bone down through the knees and towards the mat. And then we exhale and we roll the pubic bone towards the belly button again. So maybe you can imagine a marble sitting between your pubic bone and your belly button. And now we're going to roll that marble down towards the pubic bone there and onto the ground. And then roll the marble towards the belly button. And then roll the marble away. And we're going to keep moving like this. Follow your breath. So really start to connect your breath to the movement. The exhale rolls your pubic bone towards your belly button. The inhale rolls it away. Really basic movement here. Exhale, roll. See if you can keep your glutes out of it and really just make it about the belly and the breath. The belly will hollow as the pubic bone rolls towards the belly button. And then you'll expand that front line of the body, widen your sits bones as you roll it away. Narrow your sits bones slightly as you roll pubic bone to belly button. And then feel your sits bones widen as you roll them away. So our pelvis moves naturally. There's natural movement within our pelvis that I'm trying to just get you to feel a little bit here. And that is really functional for our hips and our back. Roll pubic bone to belly button last time, and then roll it away. Inhale. Next time you exhale, roll that pubic bone towards your belly button, and now we're going to keep going. Your glutes and your hamstrings will start to engage as you peel the pelvis all the way off the mat, and then your low back, and then the bottom of your rib cage. And we press down through all four corners of the feet, big toe, pinky toe, inner heel, outer heel. Press down through your arms. Pilates is full body work, so start to engage your upper body as well. Press into those feet. Take an inhale at the top. See if you can expand into your back ribs. And then exhale, soften your sternum, melt your ribs, and just roll down bone by bone, one vertebra at a time. We're trying to find the articulation through the spine and start to get that spinal mobility that Pilates gives you. Take a nice big inhale at the bottom again, and then exhale and start to roll up. Pubic bone to belly button. Press through the feet. Lift your pubic bone up to the ceiling. Feel your sternum sink a little bit. So we're not thrusting our ribs up. We're really trying to lead with the pelvis. Press through the hamstrings and the glutes. Press through the heels. Press through the hands. Feel your upper arms turn on. Take an inhale and then exhale and slowly roll down. Find that articulation. Think about putting down a pearl necklace, one pearl at a time. Take a big breath in at the bottom and then do it one more time for me. Roll pubic bone to belly button. Press down through the feet, outer edge of the foot, inner edge of the foot, big toe, pinky toe, and heel. Feel your collarbones wide, your chest nice and open, and then roll it down. Beautiful. Rest at the bottom, maybe check in, find your neutral again, and now we're going to start to move the pelvis side to side and start to get rotation in the pelvis and in the spine. So our feet are staying planted. We're going to imagine a blueberry between each side of the pelvis. And then when you're ready, and we can just breathe continuously here, you're going to squish that blueberry under your right hip by rotating the pelvis to the right. So right hip pushes into the mat, left hip lifts away from it. And then we come back through center and we go the other way. Left hip drops, right hip lifts. And then we take that again. Keep moving like that. We're trying to stay long in both sides of the waist. We're not hiking the hips like this. We're just dropping one towards the mat as the other side of the pelvis lifts. And then we switch. And then we switch. Rest of the body is staying relatively quiet. Our pelvis is actually rotating around the thigh bones. Just one more each way like that, and then we'll actually add to it. And twist. Now I want you to think about that movement because that's going to be the starting point of our next movement. Bring your legs all the way together. Knees and ankles touch. Rest your arms down by your side. And then start to rotate the pelvis to the right, allowing the legs to come with it now. I like to stack my feet together, right? So that left foot is stacked right on top of the right. And you're twisting the pelvis away from the left side. So hips are twisting to the right. Legs are falling to the right with it, but I'm anchoring my left shoulder and my left ribs. So we're getting a pure rotation through the spine, a nice twist in the waist. Next time you're ready to exhale, I want you to pull the belly button towards the spine to bring the legs up through the center. Feel your rib cage make contact with the mat through the center, and then go the other way. So we inhale to start the twist over to the left, facilitating that rotation in the spine. Good. And then when you feel your shoulders start to pull away, don't go any further, just stay there. Let the spine twist, let those little muscles stretch, and then use your exhale to pull back to center. So there's some abdominal engagement there to pull your knees back up. Let's take that again. Inhale, twist to the right. And this is going to set us up for our leg circles and our corkscrew and our spine twist and our saw and all those beautiful rotational exercises in the classical Pilates work. Over to the left, big inhale. And then let's exhale back to center. Beautiful. Okay. Come back to center, find your neutral pelvis, separate your feet so they're sits bones distance apart again, and now we're going to start to work on our pelvic stability. So instead of twisting and rolling forward and back, we're actually going to try to eliminate all those movements and keep everything really nice and stable. If it feels good for you to keep your hands on your hips to kind of make sure you're being honest with yourself about your stability, that's fine with me. Ribs are heavy, you feel the back of your skull into the mat. We'll take a nice big inhale here, and then on your exhale, fold your right knee up to a tabletop position. Thigh bone directly over the hip socket, 90 degrees at the hip, 90 degrees at the knee. And then you'll lower it back down. And then you'll bring the left. So this is a pelvic stability exercise and also a little bit of a practice of awareness, starting to really bring your attention into your body and notice, does my pelvis want to twist when I lift one leg? Again, it's such a simple movement, but there's a lot of richness to it if you really focus on what your body's doing. I feel my deep core turning on here just to stabilize my pelvis as my legs move. So I can free up that nice moment of hip flexion and movement within the hip joint to nourish everything in my hip joint, nourish the muscles around the hip, without kind of taking it away by moving my spine instead, right? And then the left. And again, we're connecting our breath to our movement. Our exhale lifts the leg. Our inhale lowers it down. Our exhale lifts the leg. Our inhale lowers it down, and then we'll make it a little bit more challenging. Bring that right leg up on your exhale, hold it there. Bring your left leg up on an exhale, hold it there for an inhale, and then on your next exhale, tap your right toes down to the mat, keeping that 90-degree angle at the knee, and then right back up. So it's just a hinging movement at the hip. The left leg goes down, and right back up, and then the right, tap it down, and right back up. Very good, and then tap it down. Good. Pelvis is staying stable. Ribs are staying anchored into the mat. Every time you exhale, you can think about those front ribs just hugging in slightly. That'll help with that. And just make sure you feel that feeling. Does your rib cage want to pull away as your leg goes down? And just try to resist that slightly if so. Are your collarbones nice and wide, your shoulders open, your arms pressing slightly into the mat? And tap it down. Now let's go a little quicker. As one comes up, the other goes down. We're no longer meeting in the middle. We're moving through that really nice and freely. Nice free movement in the hip joint as our deep core is working to stabilize our whole torso. Let's do 3 more sets. 3, and 2, and 1. And then go ahead and place one foot at a time right back down and relax. Good. From here, I want you to go ahead and just move it back up my mat a little bit. Extend one leg long. Let's do our right leg. Let's all do our right leg. Extend it long on the mat. Check in and find neutral. Sometimes even just that movement can take us a little out of whack. So find your neutral pelvis. And then slightly rotate your right leg so that the right knee is pointing out towards the right a little bit. It's just a slight rotation within the hip joint. And then we keep the pelvis nice and stable, and on an exhale, you slowly lift that right leg up until it meets just about the left knee. And then lower it down. And we're going to do this 2 ways. First, I want you to keep your pelvis neutral. So keep your tailbone really heavy. Keep that space between your low back and the mat. Slowly lift up. It's a lot of work for the inner thigh. We're stabilizing with the deep core. We're working our psoas muscle here. And then one more like that. And then lower it back down. And now we're going to start to feel the connection of the core to the lower body by using a pelvic tilt, that rolling of the pubic bone to the belly button, in order to lift the leg. So now we're using our abdominals a little bit more to actually do the action of lifting the legs. So next time you exhale, I want you to roll pubic bone to belly button and lift the leg at the same time. It might not go as high, and that's okay. And then release it back down. And then take that again. Roll pubic bone, roll pubic bone to belly button to lift the leg, and then release it down. You should feel like it's a little bit easier to lift the leg, a little less work in the actual muscles in the leg, but you're getting that nice connection. You're getting your abdominals engaged a little bit more, involved in the motion a little bit more. Release it down. Let's do one more on that side. Flatten that low back, roll pubic bone to belly button, and that's going to lift your leg. And then we release it back down. Let's switch sides. Bend the right knee, extend your left leg long. Switch back to pelvic stability mindset. Keep those hips anchored. On your exhale, slowly lift that left leg up. The left knee is pointing slightly out to the side. And then you lower it down. And then take that again. Exhale, slowly lift. And slowly lower. Just one more like that. Torso, pelvis staying completely stable as that leg just lifts on its own. And slowly lower. Now we connect the movement of the pelvis with the leg to get the abdominals involved. Exhale, roll pubic bone to belly button, and that just lifts the leg off the mat. And then we release it back down. Taking that again. And this is the classical version of the hundreds. Actually starts by lifting both legs up off the mat. So this is why we're doing this. The very first exercise in the classical mat sequence asks you to engage your abdominals to lift both of your legs, which legs are long and legs are heavy, right? Off of the mat. So that's what we're training here. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. One more. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. Beautiful work. Let's bend that left knee back in. Both feet are flat again. Arms are resting down by your side. Good. And then we'll bring both hands behind the head for a moment. So I want you to actually interlace your fingertips and make a nice hammock for your head. And we're going to do a nice abdominal curl here, but I want to train you to really make it about bending the spine instead of just lifting the head. So your hands are behind your head. Your chin nods into your chest first. We imagine squeezing a little like orange underneath the chin. So there's still a little bit of space here, but we've flexed the neck. And then from there, continue lifting the head up, but keep the head where it is. Maybe that doesn't quite make sense to you. Keep your head heavy into your hands. And then start to lift by lifting your chest forward and up. So the head is moving because the rest of the spine is peeling up off of the mat. And then lower it back down. So we're thinking about rolling the head and the shoulders up off the mat by flexing the upper spine. So we nod the chin to the chest. That's cervical flexion, flexion of the neck. And then we're flexing that thoracic spine, curling head, neck, and shoulders up. Now, we should have a nice flat belly here. If you're pushing your belly up to the sky, it might mean that you're not recruiting your deep core enough, that transverse abdominis. So think about drawing the belly button in and up as you lift. And then release it back down. Taking that again. Exhale, nod the chin to the chest, and then feel like you're rounding up and over a beach ball. Curl up until the tips of the shoulder blades are up off the mat. Pull that belly button in and up, and release it back down. Now let's do the same thing, but without the support of the hands. So reach your arms down by your side. Arms are long, shoulders are nice and open, back ribs are down into the mat. Take an inhale. Exhale, reach your fingertips forward towards your toes, nod your chin to your chest, and really, again, reach forward with those fingertips and the arms. They float off the mat, and that curls you up. And then we release it back down. So there's always this energy pulling out of the center in Pilates, so I want you to reach with the arms first. Nod the chin to the chest. Feel energy shooting out of your fingertips and reaching towards your toes. Curl it up. Make sure you're up towards the tips of those shoulder blades and you're flexing that upper spine like you're going up and over, like you're trying to make a C shape with your body, yeah? And then lower it back down. Or like a banana shape maybe. And then we'll take that again, nod the chin to the chest, curl up. And then release it down. Taking that again, let's make sure we're using our breath. We exhale to curl up and flex the spine. We inhale to lay it down bone by bone and expand the spine. Two more. Exhale, curl. Reach those fingertips long away from you, and then release it back down. One more. And then release it all the way back down and relax for a moment. Very good. Now, bring your arms up to the sky, right in line with your shoulders. So each arm is directly over the shoulder. And we take a moment to just let those arms drop into the shoulder sockets. Feel your collarbones nice and wide across your chest. energy through the fingertips, and then take a moment to feel those back ribs against the mat. So this is like a super, super simple movement here. Make sure you're in a neutral pelvis position. But I want you to start to think about the rib cage staying neutral as the arms move. So we're just working on stabilizing through the middle of the body as the limbs move, and now connecting that into the upper body. We get a little bit more shoulder mobility and stability through the shoulder joint if we can move those arms the way they're supposed to move within the shoulder sockets without kind of cheating and letting the ribs do part of the work for us. This is also just a nice, subtle, deep core exercise, keeping those ribs anchored against the movement of the arms overhead. It's just a little bit of nice deep core training there, and then reach it back up. This is actually a really great exercise to do if you're postpartum, if you've just had a baby, and you can add a little bit of weight at the top, and then come back up. Good, collarbones are wide, we're keeping the pelvis neutral, we're keeping the back ribs heavy. Only go as far as you can with the ribs staying down, and you can even hold it for a moment at that part where it gets a little tricky, and then right back up. And maybe this is like super easy for you and you have great shoulder mobility and your ribs are staying really nice and stable, and that's awesome. Just notice it. One more. Let's make it a little harder. Bring your right leg up to tabletop. Bring your left leg up to meet it. Feel those back ribs against the mat. As your we're gonna do both legs at the same time now, toe taps. As your toes tap down, your arms are also gonna go overhead just like you were just doing. Use your exhale here, and then inhale it back up. Exhale to tap down. Inhale to come up. Keep those back ribs connected into the mat. Exhale, tap down. Inhaling up. 2 more there. Exhale down. Inhale up. 1 more. Exhale, tap it down. Inhale up. Good. Place both feet down, relax, and let your arms come down by your side. That was awesome. Great. Now we're going to flip onto our side and just do a nice chest opener and spinal rotation exercise again. So I want you to take your bottom arm and fold it so that you can use it as a pillow to rest your head on. And then just make sure you're one long line from head down to tail. So be careful. We tend to want to be like fetal position here. Don't let your body go into fetal position. So we're in a nice long line. Hips are stacked, ribs are stacked, shoulders over ribs over hips. Good. Take your top arm and reach it straight out in front of you. And then reach that arm up to the sky and start to twist your spine to open that arm back to the wall behind you. I don't have a lot of room behind me, but you're going to keep your arms straight and you're going to let your head go with you, twisting the spine to watch the arm go back. And then come back up. I'm going to scoot forward a little bit. Reach your arm out in front of you, good, and then we take that arm up and open it. Let the eyes watch the fingertips go back and stretch. Feel that nice, beautiful rotation through the spine. Try to keep your knees stacked and your hips stacked. So we're not just rolling over to do it, we're actually getting that rotation through the spine. There is a difference. And then bring it back. And then just do 1 more like that. Take that arm up, open, let your eyes follow your hands. Breathe into that stretch. And then bring it back. And go ahead and flip on over to the other side. You can just turn around if you'd like. I'm going to flip around so I'm still facing you. So we make a pillow for our head. We keep our spine nice and long. Reach that top arm in front of you and then go ahead and lift. Open. Watch that hand go back. Twist your spine. Let your ribs still feel heavy down towards that mat. And then bring it back. And then take it again. Reach up. Open. Twist. And back. 1 more. Let that spine move with ease. Try not to hold any tension. See what you can let go of. And then come all the way back. Good. And from here, we're going to go onto our stomach now and start to do some back body work. So working on spinal extension and hip extension. I want you to take your hands and place them underneath your, right outside of your shoulders. So like thumbs right underneath shoulders, elbows next to your ribs, and forehead down on the mat. Good. From here, we're going to push down into the hands and the arms and reach your nose forward on the mat to come up. We're going to start to lift the head and the chest into just a little baby upper back extension. Tailbone stays reaching down to the heels. Forehead, nose, and chest are reaching forward and up. And think about sliding the hands back on the mat slightly to engage your upper arms. Beautiful. And then release it back down. And then kind of just like our abdominal curl, we're going into cervical extension, so it's okay to extend at the neck, right? We're lifting our chin. We're still trying to stay long. We're lifting the chest forward and up. We're pulling our shoulders down, sliding those hands slightly back on the mat, and then releasing it back down. Take it again. Lift. This is such a nice, simple, but powerful exercise for our posture. We all know we're in a very device-driven world right now, right? So we're looking down on our phones and on our computers, maybe at our kids or, whatever you're looking down at. We're looking down a lot. So it's really good to start looking up and lifting your chest and working those upper back muscles. And then release it back down. We'll just keep it there for now. Take your hands and place them underneath your forehead. Feel your pelvis anchored into the mat. So just like we focused on our back ribs pressing into the mat, right here you're going to feel your pubic bone and your ASIS, those front hip bones, into the mat. Your tailbone reaching down towards your heels to elongate the low back. And then you'll maintain that feeling and just lift your right leg up off the mat. So we're extending the front of the hip, but we're not letting the pelvis twist at all, and we're not letting the low back arch at all. So go ahead and keep moving like that and see how stable you can keep your pelvis so that we can engage the glutes and the hamstrings to do really nice pure hip extension and kind of keep the lower back out of it for now. Keep the lumbar spine out of it. Now, that doesn't mean that later on when we do more complicated Pilates exercises that we're not going to put it all together, but it's just really nice to feel the simple movement there and get into just those muscles and feel that feeling of stabilizing the pelvis in this range of motion. Let's do one more each way. And left. And then I want you to keep your legs neutral, so sits bones distance apart. And then feel your toes reach away from you to lift both legs up at the same time. And then lower it down. And then take that again. Pubic bone presses into the mat, toes reach away from your hips to lengthen so much that your legs lift. So we're finding that energy reaching out of center again. And we're finding the length in the body. Good. 2 more like that. The more we can feel that feeling of reaching out, the more space we're creating. The more length we're creating. Good. 1 more. Reach out to go up. And then releasing that back down. Good. Roll back over onto your side. And let's do a quick thigh exercise here. So again, your head can be laying on a long arm or a folded arm, or you could even have your head up if that's most comfortable for you. But you do want to make sure your head is in line with the rest of your spine in a nice neutral spine. Shoulders stacked over ribs, ribs stacked over hips, hips one on top of the other. Both legs are long now. You're one long line from crown of the head to heel. Legs are straight. We're going to take our top, and the legs are right in line with your body. Yeah, so just make sure they're not in front of you. Press your top hand into the mat, and then go ahead and take your top leg and reach it out away from your hip. So think heel away from hip. Reach out so much that the leg lifts, and then we lower it back down. Then we take that again. So this is, again, a super simple exercise, right? That's a leg lift. We call it medial glide because the thigh bone glides in to the hip socket medially here as we do this lift. So there's an oppositional movement. The femur head, the thigh bone head comes in, and then we come back out. But what I want you to think about here is keeping the waist really long. So I want you to keep pulling your top hip away from the ear, even as the leg lifts, and only go as high as you can without dropping the waist. Yeah? So keep lengthening and lift that leg up and lower it down, and lift and lower. We'll just do a few more like that. Again, so simple, but so good for these muscles here in our lateral hip. Lift and our glutes. Let's do 3 more. Heel pulls away to lift up and lower. Good. And 2. And 1. Beautiful. Let's switch to the other side. Turning on over or flipping over to the other side of your mat, whatever feels right for you. You make a long line with your body from head to heel. Press that bottom hip down into the mat, reach your top hip away, and then reach your top heel out so far that it lifts up, and then lower it back down. Beautiful. And then reach out to go up, and lower it down. Good. Out to go up, and lower down. Nice. Keep that waist really long, getting a nice little dip in your hip, and lift, and lower. Good. 3 more. 3. Nice long waist there, and 2. Think of all that space you created with those shoulder shrugs at the beginning of class. 1 more for good luck. Lift and lower. Beautiful work. I want you to come to hands and knees now. Find a position where your hands are directly underneath your shoulders and your knees are directly underneath your hips. We find a nice neutral spine there, which actually means the front ribs should probably close a little bit. Make sure they're not like splaying open and down. Your sits bones are wide, your tail is slightly lifted. There should be a nice natural curve in the low back. Yeah? Good. All right. From here, we're going to start to work on the shoulders a little bit. I want you to think about your shoulder blades gliding with ease, and you'll slide them together to drop your chest down towards the mat. So the shoulder blades slide in towards the spine. And then from there, you're going to slide the shoulder blades wide on the back to push your chest away from the mat. Slide your shoulder blades together to drop your chest towards the mat. Slide your shoulder blades wide to push the chest away from the mat. The spine is staying neutral here. We're not doing a cat-cow motion at all. We're really literally just moving the shoulder blades, working the muscles around those shoulder blades. Mostly the rhomboids are relaxing here. And then we're pushing and using the serratus anterior muscle that wraps our shoulder blades around our ribs. Good. And that's what's going to help us have really nice stability of the shoulders in our planks and in our push-ups, which are coming. And then we take that again, we slide the shoulder blades together, and then we slide them apart. Our shoulder blades are moving with ease. Slide the shoulder blades together, and then slide them apart. Just 1 more like that. Slide the shoulder blades together, and slide them apart. Beautiful. If you need a break off your wrists, go ahead and take a child's pose, or just anything you need. Shake those wrists out a little bit, maybe give them a little circle, and then come right back to hands and knees position, but this time you're going to walk your hands a step or 2 in front of your shoulders. So hands are a little bit in front of the shoulders. We're still a nice neutral pelvis, and I want you to really feel your sternum, your chest, your breastbone reaching forward. And then you're going to keep that feeling as you start to bend your elbows and shift your weight forward towards your fingertips. And then push the arms straight and push back towards your heels. We're thinking elbows in, a nice narrow position here when you bend the elbows. So you shift your weight forward as you bend those elbows. Keep your chest reaching forward. Keep your chest reaching forward. Keep your chest reaching forward, and then straighten those elbows and rock back. We're going to keep going like that. Shift forward as you bend the elbows, drawing those elbows in, narrow and towards each other. And then up and back. Let's do 2 more like that. We're taking it nice and slow so you can really focus on the chest pulling forward, those front ribs closing slightly, your belly drawing in and up, your elbows pulling in narrow towards the ribs, and push the weight back. And then 1 more. Shift it forward. We're starting to prepare for our push-ups here, and then press it back and release. Very nice. Take a seat and bring your legs in front of you. A little bit more spinal mobility work. We're almost done here already. Go ahead and grab the backs of your thighs. Knees are bent, feet are flat on the mat, and we sit up nice and tall. You feel the bottom of your pelvis. You feel those sits bones anchored into the mat. You lift up nice and tall, long spine on your inhale. And then exhale, tuck your tail underneath you and pull your back ribs back as your head reaches forward over your tailbone. So now if I'm drawing a line from the crown of my head all the way back down to my tailbone, I'm making a C shape with my body. So I'm actually not leaning back like this. I'm trying to do a nice even curve of the spine from head all the way down to tail. And then lengthen it back up and find a little lift of the chest at the top. And then take that again. Exhale, tuck your tail. Arms pull against the thighs slightly and almost resist the pulling back of your ribs. Ribs pull back, chin nods towards chest, C curve of the spine, and then stack it back up really nice and tall. You're breathing. We exhaled around. And then inhale to stack up. One more like that. Exhale to round. And then inhale to stack up, rocking that pelvis forward, lifting up to neutral. Now reach those arms straight out in front of you, and let's start a little half roll down. So I want you to press into the feet. Feel your feet into the mat. Feel your fingertips reaching forward. Take a big inhale, and then exhale, tuck your pelvis just like you just did, and keep pulling that belly button back, back, back. We're gonna try to touch the top of the pelvis or maybe even the lumbar spine down into the mat, but only go as far as you can, pressing those feet into the mat. Pause, and then roll back up. So now we're starting to prepare for our roll up, our teasers. Press those feet into the mat. We're actually trying to find a little bit of engagement in the back line of the legs as you roll down. Press those heels down, feel those fingertips reach forward. Imagine someone's holding your hands and trying to keep you from going down onto the mat. And then roll it back up. Uncurl the spine and lift up tall and neutral. Let's take two more like that. Tuck the tail, scoop it in, round. Pull the belly back. Hold. And pull it back up. One more like that. Scoop the belly in, tuck the tail. We're actually hollowing the front of the body and expanding in the back of the body. Pause. And then roll it back up. Beautiful work. Come back to hands and knees. Hands directly under shoulders, knees directly underneath the hips again. Feel energy reaching through the crown of the head all the way to the tail. Feel a nice oppositional reach and lengthening there. And then we'll take the right arm and the left leg and reach them out away from each other. So fingertips reach forward, toes reach back. No collapsing in that belly. Pull in and up and then reach long through fingertips and toes and then release it back down. And we're going to take that again, and I'm going to challenge you to feel like this is a flowing movement. So you reach out, 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 out. When you feel like you're about to just stay still, reach further through the fingertips and the toes and then right away come down. So feel like there's no real moment of stillness there. So we reach, 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 and release it back down, yeah? In Pilates, there's the concept of flow. We're never really holding a position here. And then release it back down. And reach out nice and long, energy through fingers and toes. Reach as far as you can and then come right back in. And then go the other way, reaching that left arm long, right leg long, energy through fingers and the toes, and release back down. Let's take that one more time. Feel the belly hugging in as you reach, 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 and then release, and switch, reach. And then release it back down. Beautiful. Last thing here, hands directly under the shoulders, knees directly underneath the hips, tuck your toes under. Take a nice big inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, feel your front ribs draw in and up, draw your belly in and up, and float your knees off the mat. Just a little tiny float. We're holding here for a breath. And then we're releasing it back down. Take the same thing again. Draw the belly in and up to float your knees up off the mat. Hold. Make sure your chest is still reaching forward. Your eyes are gazing a little bit in front of the fingertips. And then release it back down. If you're looking down at your knees, it's a surefire sign that your head is not in neutral alignment with the rest of your spine, so be cautious of that. And then we'll take it again. Use your exhale to float it up. Push down through those hands, push down through the knees, push into the mat, press your chest away, and then release it back down. And then one more time. Press down, float up. Belly pulls into spine. Good. Breathing into your ribs. Find that lateral breathing that we found before. Release it back down, and then go ahead and rest your feet. Widen your knees and sit back into a child's pose if that's accessible for you, or you could even just lay on your back. Drop your forehead onto your mat and take a couple big deep breaths and see if you can find that back and side of your rib cage expansion. Breathe it in and breathe it out. One more big breath. Breathe it in. Breathe it out. And then go ahead and roll on up or come to sitting. And you are all set for now. Great work. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you for the next workout.